In this tutorial, we're going to discuss tone when using colour. So first of all, I'd like you to get your viewfinder and I'd like you to analyse the colours on the object that you're going to be drawing. So looking here, I can see that that is a very dark colour. Okay, I can identify some medium colours and some lighter colours as well. Okay, so when you're selecting your pencils or your watercolours or your paints that you're going to be using to represent this object, think about light, medium and dark. So I've selected a yellow tone for this gold watch. So this is quite a light yellow colour. Okay, I've then thought about the medium tones. So I'm using a raw sienna. Okay, now this is a golden watch, so I'm thinking about keeping my colours quite warm. So I have a warm brown, relatively medium tone. Okay, now the cooler colours in the shadows, I'm actually going to introduce purple alongside my black. Okay, so this drawing is going to be made up of just 5 colours. Now the advantage of doing this is that limiting your colour palette is going to speed you up. So instead of having 20 colours available, you're narrowing it down slightly to create those tones. So how we're actually going to do this, we're going to start with your lightest tone. So analysing your watch or object, think about where it's lighter. Okay, so I'm going to put the pencil on the side and I'm going to sketch in a base layer that's going to represent my lightest tone. Okay, so as long as I stay within the lines and I'm covering the texture of the paper, this should be quite a quick process. Okay, I'm then going to move to my slightly darker light tone. So I'm looking here at this white area, so I need to almost highlight that by shading in the negative space around it. I'm pressing on probably medium pressure to build these layers up. Okay, then I'm going to move to my warm brown. Now at this point I might start to decide to put some lines on to identify some of the more specific shapes and shadows. Okay, as well as using potentially the side of the pencil to sketch in the darker areas as well. Okay, the advantage of putting layers on like this is that you can rub them back. Okay, so if you find you've gone too heavy in a particular area, okay, you can use your rubber and then you can rub back through those tones to smooth them. Okay, and to blend them together a little bit more. Okay, so moving up again to my next darkest tone. The cool colour of this purple is going to help the shadows recede. And I'm using quite a light pressure when I'm trying to blend the colours together. Okay, then moving on to the black, darkest tone. This is going to give your work the maximum amount of contrast. So I finished sketching in the lighter tones, okay, and you can kind of see the difference between the areas that have got a full tonal contrast and then the areas that don't have much contrast. So it's really important that you use your darker two tones, okay, to balance with those lighter tones. Okay, so don't forget your warm colours and your cool colours. Your cool colours are going to recede and make it look like it's going away from you or underneath an object. Okay, and the warm colours are going to come out towards you. Okay, so when you're choosing your colours, really think about warm and cool and what those colours will create. Adding purple on top of orange is kind of going to make a brown colour. Okay, so without having to use an extra brown, I am able to kind of tone down the warm brown that I used in the beginning. Okay, now I have spent a couple of minutes just sharpening these pencils back up so that my final layer I can have some really detailed markings. Now, just looking at the number of light reflections on here, I'm really going to have to go for it. So using the rubber to maybe rub back a couple of highlights, but then to create that contrast, I'm also going to add the black and the dark purple in as well.